a little bit about your story, your active using, your recovery piece,
Okay.
the political work you've done, obviously your book.
Oh yeah, okay, gotcha.
You know,
we're live.
just all the work you do in the recovery world, recovery advocacy, all that stuff, you know.
Okay, cool.
We're live.
And then people will chime in.
Got it.
All right, let me share.
Share it. Let me share it. Should I go grab the mission statement then?
I think you should, yeah.
All right. Grabbing it.
Oh, we're live. All right.
Live, Mike.
All right. Happy Sunday, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. We got a special guest tonight, Jack Kelly. He's an author. He's a recovery advocate, public health advocate. He is the CEO and founder of iRecover app, which we'll talk about. Hopefully we can talk about that. Government relations specialist. And he's also a marathon participant. You've completed a couple marathons, right?
4.
Last time we talked, 4, yeah.
4, yeah.
And
4,
you also
4 of the 6 majors, yeah.
You also were one of the first TB12 participants in Boston, right?
Might have been the first one outside of the TB12 family. It was by accident, so I'm not that plugged in, but it ended up being really good. Yeah, it was cool.
That's amazing. Yeah, you told me a little bit about that last time I saw you in Walton.
Yeah. He had sent out a link on Instagram or something on one of his stories saying sign up, but it was actually a link he was supposed to just send for family and friends, and it was only there for a second, and I signed up. And so when I got there, they were acting like, like, oh, like you're a friend of Tom. I'm like, what the? No, I'm not. But no, it ended up being a really cool thing. So they ended up kind of just, helping me with the marathons and stuff, and it was cool. It was good.
Awesome. Yeah, maybe like later on in the conversation we could talk about that, since
sure.
It's not really recovery related, but it's wellness related, which is
absolutely
part of self-care and all that. So, so tell us about a little bit about your using, a little bit like what got you to where you're at today, as far as being a person in recovery, long-term recovery. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So for me, I have a story that I would think is similar to a lot of people, but it differs on what some of the details are. But I was typical Oxycontin kid, 1997 or 96. And in my book that I wrote, which we'll talk about in a second, I kind of talked a lot about what I had been through more as a historical thing, because it was vastly different than when when my age group had this happening than what it is now, at least from what I hear. I mean, I've been so far out of the game that sometimes I almost feel like my lived experience isn't even worth anything anymore because of just how vastly evolved the game is, so it was just a different world. Yeah. I mean, no way at that point in my life would I have ever done heroin. The stigma of heroin was real.
Right.
I would have never did it. Never would have did it. And
I think that's for a lot of us too, the oxys,
right?
And it's like, because the oxys, that's clean using, right? Like that's clean. It comes from a doctor. It's that heroin's dirty. You use needles. It's completely different. It's not.
Yeah. No. So it took that way to get me into it, and after a few years, I became hooked. I mean, it happened with me because I had a hockey injury. So I had shoulder surgery to repair it, and oxys had come out about 6 months before that. So there you go.
Right, bad timing.
Impeccable timing, baby.
Yeah.
Really bad timing.
Either really
do it like a year before. It's like just avoided all this nonsense. But no,
you couldn't have given me just some 5-4-3 Percocets or something.
I know.
No, seriously. I mean, anything. I mean, who knows?
Mandy says, hi, everyone. Love you all. And she said, Jack is amazing. Met him a year ago, and he has been so helpful to me and gives me the motivation to go after the goals I want to accomplish, especially to run a marathon. Love you, Jack.
Love to. Yeah, that's all. I mean, part of why I share that stuff now, it used to be like typical social media stuff. Like, I got like ego out of it. But when I do a lot of that, it's just so more people can just see like that's really the only answer I have now. Like as I've become more of a mature person, and not just in recovery, but just as an adult. I mean, I got sober when I was 22. I'm 39 now. Way different person. Wow. And not all that is recovery related. It's just this growth outside of that. And
that's young to first get clean and sober, 22. you know,
Yeah.
after you
Yeah,
turn
it is.
21, when you're able to drink legally, and then to, you know,
I know. I've never had a legal drink. Never.
Wow.
I know. It's pretty cool, right?
Yeah,
That's
like,
pretty cool.
like,
blows
but
my
it's pretty interesting for a crackhead heroin addict to never have actually drank in a real setting. But yeah, it's true.
Wow, that's
Never
amazing.
had a legal drink. That's
Legal, obviously.
yeah, right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Hi. So Mike's mom said, "Happy Sunday, everyone."
Hi, Mike's mom.
Hi,
Hi, Mom.
Julie said she wants to know about the app, which we talked about. You guys talked about a little bit the app.
Yeah, I just mentioned it. We'll get into it. Yeah,
We'll
absolutely.
get into it. Debbie said hopping on for a few. So, you know, prayers to Debbie. She's in Florida with her husband. And then I'll read the mission statement quickly so that we are doing everything.
Oh, we almost missed that. Yeah, good.
I ran back and I was waiting for Mike to say, what about the mission statement? And you missed it. Greater Wealth and Recovery Solution mission is to raise funds and awareness to help connect people into treatment, access to recovery coaches in the community, support for veterans, getting them into, you know, more like treatment programs and more options for veterans, and scholarship people into sober living. There we go.
Oh, actually, before I forget, I happened to just read this 2 seconds ago, literally, and it was online. I don't even have access to my Facebook page anymore, like, so I don't see what goes on there and anything. So it's been actually great, and I think from a mental health perspective, you should all do that as addicts.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And I'm actually kind of being serious. I know that that's a sort of cliche, get off social media, but I have tied a lot of negative drama in my life because I've engaged in that dopamine hit off as I'm getting in likes. And I actually, for me, just where I'm at, I need it for work stuff, but I don't like whatever you see. Like, I have no idea what they're even posting. I don't see who likes any of my stuff. Like, so the only thing I do have access to is Instagram because it's more family stuff, but like, and I love it. I love not having it. And, you know, that's how I compromise it with work stuff. I just handed the keys over to someone. Like, I don't ever go in there. I don't ever see what's being posted. My last thing was something about my daughter, and then that's it. I mean, I hate it.
We can't tag you. We can't tag you for our.
No. You can. That's why we have someone that's doing all of that. So,
okay.
No. You can. It's still there. I'm still there, but like, yeah. I told them I didn't. I know, right? So stupid. I told my team that I'm working with for other projects that I can't announce yet that I just, obviously social media is a big part of promotion. And I'm like, I want nothing to do with it. Even just myself. I don't like the ego part of it. I don't like people liking it and, oh, that's so brilliant. I don't like it. Like, cause I've done some great stuff. I've also done some bad shit. I'm like everybody, flawed and just normal. And for me only, what my recovery journey had got me to and all the activism is that I got sick of the sort of self-love addiction that I was creating with myself. And so I do whatever I can to try to protect myself from that. So that's why I'm not going to have any access to that. But I'm there, so you can tag me. I just don't.
Mike, are you friends with him on Facebook?
Yeah, of course. Yep.
Will you tag him in this?
I can tag.
Yeah.
And Alonzo, hi Alonzo, happy Sunday.
I was muted again. How do I always get muted?
I'm not muting you.
It's the gods, Mike.
It's the gods. I got nothing good to say right now.
Yeah, exactly.
I was muted. I love what you said about like the self-consumption. You know what I mean? Because then you start to like want to consume more and more of you, and like you just detach from like other human beings, and you just get more separate and more alone and more isolated. Like those, and the likes, like they don't suffice.
Nope.
Eventually, you know what I mean? They don't satisfy it eventually. So where's what do we crave next? Like, what's our next manifestation coming from, you know? And like, I don't know, it's dangerous. I love what you said, man, because like social media, it's great to like connect, but it's also does its part in disconnecting you from other people.
It does. And like, it kind of and again, this is a bigger journey, and I'm actually writing another book on this, which is more about what I actually have wanted to write about, but I obviously had to write about the whole experience of just drug addiction itself. And for me personally, like the reason I wrote that book was I wanted to kind of put that image behind me. Like, I mean, I'm sick of being a recovered addict to people. Like, and I pursued it as a profession, and I ran for public office, got a lot of local attention for it. It was cool. I loved it. I craved it. Eventually, it sort of brought me down because it's like anything else. A drug's a drug, a drug. And fame, no matter how stupid it is, it could be just in a local community or wherever. It, for me, just ended up not being good. And not to say that you can't be a leader and be a public person as someone in recovery. But what I've learned, if I decide to go that route again, it's going to be like I'm doing. I'm just going to treat it as it's just business, and there's a PR person that handles it. And that's got nothing to do with my real life. And because it's bullshit. I can't believe anything. And like, so I got a real taste of that stuff, man. I've been to the White House. I've been everywhere. I mean, I have been to Mount Everest. I've been everywhere you could be. And you were never going to find that peace unless it's real. Nothing's going to change it. Nothing's going to change it. So that's kind of like my message in recovery is more about that now. Because it's like, look, if I'm on with you guys and like, I know Mike and whoever's watching this, we all know the whole story to a degree. Right. You know, I shot dope. You know what I mean? Right. I'm like doing a Facebook or whatever the hell we're doing. So yeah, you get it, how bad it was. It's that bad, you know? And it's like, I get sick of regurgitating it because it doesn't, if for this type of setting, everybody knows my story with that. And it's like, I'm more about every time I get a chance to speak to just talk about how much I really try to just be a sort of an anonymous person that puts my head down and goes to work and just does my stuff and not get caught up in what people think about me. And because it's just, for me, it's unhealthy.
Yeah, I agree. And like I tell people that like maybe I come in contact with through like recovery avenues or like, you know, in the recovery world, like I tell them like we have to do our best work behind closed doors, like not on social media, like internally, like what are we doing for ourselves internally that we don't have to broadcast, you know? And I think that's the most important piece of this is like, yo, do your best work behind closed doors. And
what is it? Integrity is doing the right thing when no one's watching.
When nobody's watching, yeah, absolutely.
Watching, and I think that's huge. What you guys both just said, you know, that it's not. Well, you know, everyone can portray whatever they want on social media, that they have these perfect lives and this and this and that, but what's going on behind that? Like, why are you trying to portray that to everyone else when, like, are you just trying to appease yourself by looking this way to everyone else? Like, what are you really like? What are you really about? Right? And it's tough. You know, it's tough. You know, social media is everywhere right now. That's all, like, we're on social media right now, so we're kind of, I guess,
right. And I think that's kind of like, it's kind of the peace I've made with it. It's part of life now, and it's part of the future, and it's fine, and it's cool, and but it's also, this is more, it's actually, even for me, it's more deeper than even like showing a life, because I've always been true to myself. I've never tried to be a fake person, so I've never been concerned about that. But it was more about the adulation I was looking for people. Like, even when I'm being genuine, like, I still want people to love the genuine me. Well, when I put myself out there, there are going to be some people who aren't cool with the genuine me. Right. Wow, that's kind of wild. And it's like, then I get resentful towards them. And why? You know, it's if I want to put some shit out there, be prepared for people to have a really different opinion about it. I can't just be like, oh, he's so brave. Well, some people don't think that way. So like, I've had to go through a lot of trials and errors that hopefully most people in recovery won't have to go because of the kind of career path I chose, which most won't. But however, how it relates to recovery is that because I've had to deal with so much stuff with ego and disappointment and broad humiliation or broad adulation, I've realized that there's just so much more to recovery than a lot of stuff that I thought before. So, but the thing I did want to mention, I just read about this before I got on. I know there's that girl, Aubrey Eaters. I forget exactly what her last name is. She was an advocate, not in the sort of like world we are that advocates for abstinence or anything. She was actually a drug user rights activist. And the only reason I'm mentioning her because it's just, I feel like she should be honored. She died. I felt bad. And even though I disagreed with a lot of her approaches, she had guts, she had courage, and she spoke her mind, was herself, and she was still part of our world, you know, and she believed that everybody should have a right to use drugs, and that's it. And that was her stance. And whether I agree with it or not, the fact of the matter is she was one of us. And like that just, you know, I just felt she should be honored. That's all.
And she recently passed away.
She did, yeah. And I didn't agree. Like, she would be. What was interesting is she was an activist, and she was talented. And I say there's a difference between, because someone who worked in politics and ran and also made a living off of doing stuff I do. Not everybody can be an activist and be good at it.
Right.
Like, there's a false assumption that you just get up and tell you, no, there's a whole different skill set to it. It's you have to be able to be raw and real without discomforting a powerful person. And that girl somehow did it. And like, it wasn't one of us, like, yeah, hey, we turned our life around. She was like, I have a right. I have a right.
I have no intention. Yeah,
I have no intention of turning my life around.
Yeah.
And Mike, I gotta tell you, like, as I grew older and I would see her at all these events, she would be at the same table I'm at.
Really?
I'm like, man, yeah, she's a beat. Like, she is like, she gets in these rooms and she is completely antithesis of anything they'll ever even consider. But she always got in there, and I would talk to her after, and she had a lot of anger towards people like us because we got a lot of credibility. But I resisted my urge to get angry and I just listened to her. And every time I walked away, she got me to think, like, why is her pain have to be treated like less than mine?
Right.
And I could see that, like, yeah, we're getting adulation because we stopped doing drugs.
Right.
Well, she can't stop doing drugs. And maybe her trauma or whatever is so bad she needs them. Who am I to judge? And when she died, I kind of, like, today, I was like, man, I never got to tell her that. And not that I'm upset about it, but like, that she died. That sucks. And she's done a lot to help this community. I just wanted her to get recognized. That's all.
That's amazing. And when you think about it, that's like the ultimate form of bravery. Is like,
absolutely, dude.
Hey, I'm like this. The world sees it totally differently than me. Even the people in the recovery field, even recovery advocates, like you say, they look at it like I'm a failure. If you like, she's not a failure, but I'm saying they look at it as if I'm a failure. Yep. I'm typecast as this like failure that I'm promoting drug use. And I'm still going to be authentically myself 100% of the time, because this is what I need. I need the relief produced by this drug day in and day out, just in order to survive life.
Dude, she was, and I found out by reading the article, she was transgender. I didn't even know that. So that even adds more, as far as I'm concerned, to her courage. I actually think, in light of a lot of events, whether it's Black Lives Matter or COVID and just all the reflection we're doing, I'd always get very angry if somebody would say anything that was like, white man, whatever, because I'd be like, I've been homeless and I shot dope, my pain. I got to tell you though, like, even as I'm looking at my own journey, like, I had to ask myself recently, like, I ran for public office and I was endorsed by the Boston Globe, and I've done a lot of hard work and blah, blah, blah. But if all things were being equal, if that girl ran for, like, she did just as good as I did getting into that world, and it was just as like strategic, and yet the best she could get was on some free appointed board. And because I have blonde hair, blue eyes, and I'm a white kid, I was able to run for political office, and people were like, wow, what a great story. And I'm not sure she would have got that. And that made me really reflect a lot today about, I've been really thinking about that. Like, even to the point where I even like almost feel like people like me should be more in the background for a while. And it should be other people who have less heroic story, more of a kind of complicated one. Like, the journey's still ongoing, but we can still say, yeah, whatever, you're a human being and you can speak your truth. I don't care if you just smoked crack last night. We're trying to change laws. How can we change laws if we don't even listen to the people in our own world?
Right.
It made me think about it. Just weird that happened before this. So sorry to hijack about that, but this made me really think.
That's great. Yeah, it's free form. You can talk about whatever you want to talk
about. There's no guidelines. It's only that I have to say the mission statement at the beginning.
I know. There's no guidelines, but I'm in control. You wanted to say.
Right. I'm not in control. Mike has to have his one-liners, and I just have to interrupt and read the comments. Julie asked, "What's the next book about?"
I have a couple. One was, it's called Virus, ironically. So this gave me a ton of material to work with.
What's it called?
Virus.
Oh, Virus.
It's got a lot of political themes in it, and it was like whatever. And then there's another one, but the one I'm writing that's going to be like a one that's going to be about this is going to be to do with resilient people, and I'm picking different people. And I was being asked by people who were like behind me, who were trying to like get my next book out and promote it because they have a publisher and all this shit or whatever. They wanted me to write like your typical. And as I was writing it, like I realized this is only a chapter's worth, and I don't want to fucking write about myself anymore. Like, yeah, it's mine, and it's gonna be, but like, I've met so many other people who have way better stories than I do, and like, so the story is called Resilient something. I haven't come up with the whole name, but like, this one kid I met, he happens to just be in AA, and I met him because I do some volunteer stuff down in Spalding, and he was here a year ago. His name's Stefan. He's 26. And he's paralyzed because he smoked crystal meth one night and whatever, climbed up a tree and fell. That's real life. He's in a chair right now, and you know, life is great, but that's his life. Right. Why do we need the fuck? Like, quite honestly, I'm not that impressive compared to him, you know. And like,
my life, I didn't face that much adversity.
Exactly, right. And so it's kind of like I want to kind of like let some other people that I've met who, for whatever reason, don't get to shine, and if it can take me to, I'll tell my part of like stuff I've lived in recovery, but then hand it off to people, because that's just like, I'm sick of talking about myself. It's not that big of a deal. It's like, you know, it's like, you know what I mean? And it's like, there's so many other cool stories out there. And I just think that we need to put a light on them, and not just how long you've been sober.
Right.
Like, it's stupid. It's like, all right, I got 17 years sober. What does that make me? Like, am I like in the Hall of Fame or something?
Yeah.
You know, the fuck,
people go out all the time. They relapse after 20 years, after 30 years. You know what I mean? We only have today, 24 hours.
Exactly. And I'll go deeper. Who gives a fuck about even the relapse part of it? I've suffered clinical depression in recovery. I want to be content with myself, even if I'm sober and if I'm not comfortable in my skin. What kind of life is that?
Right. Yeah. What's the point? Right.
Exactly. So it's way deeper for me than any of like that, and passing drug tests or anything. But that's where I'm at.
Do you think this shift in thinking is due to you like writing a memoir?
Michael, good question.
No, Mike, great question. And yes, but not initially. It wasn't until before the memoir, I had a lot of different stuff happen to me, disappointments in life that had sent me through a loop. And I survived it, got professional help, had to challenge my own very strong opinions that I had towards people. And quite frankly, like when I was like rising up in my 20s, and I'm not like upset about it because just whatever, but I was kind of an asshole to certain people because it was easier for me to get clean. I was like an ex-athlete, so I got right into working out, and decent looking kid around here, like, so I was very well accepted by the world, and so I just completely looked down upon anybody that kept struggling or like whatever those stupid things are. And I've had to reflect on when I had to go through some real pain in recovery. It really helped me humble myself that I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about anything. And as far as like judging people on any level, what their journey is preposterous. And so it's interesting during COVID and now Black Lives Matter and like these other stuff, I'm in a perfect spot for me that I've been able to accept and embrace messages without me needing to give an opinion. I don't know what it's like to be Black. I don't know what it's like to have a breathing disorder and to have COVID be out there and how much that would affect you. And so, okay, I'm healthy and I don't have those issues. I don't need to open my big fat mouth all the fucking time. I need to just listen and try to figure out what someone else's pain is and see if I can just in some ways help them, because I know pain. And so maybe I'm not seeing something that is really there. And so, it's just where I'm at.
That was huge what you just said. You said like you've never been Black, you've never had a COVID, like, so to you, just we can be there and have compassion, but we don't know what someone else is going through.
No. So why am I gonna sit there and start saying, and I've done this before, to keep real. Now I'm pretty liberal, especially compared to most people. So I've never been accused of saying like some thing like that. But I even went in my head, I'd be like, well, that particular kid, he was kind of, whatever, he robbed a house. And I'm like, hold on. I grew up in fucking Charlestown. Literally know people that have killed people, okay? Like literally have killed people. And I have the fucking audacity to fucking think it was justified for someone to get shot right in the street. If that ever had happened in Charlestown, maybe not now because it's a different community, but like when I was younger and way back in the 80s, they would have riots, they would have burnt the whole place down. And like, who the fuck am I to ever have any opinion on that? I don't know what their pain is, so I'm just gonna sit and listen.
Yeah, and that's crazy. Sorry, my son was walking.
You're right over there.
Hey, what are you
I know,
doing?
like a ghost walked in or something, you know.
Yeah, it was a ghost. It was someone who was opening my door, which they should be distracting themselves. Julie said there's a drug addicts union, and they all use. And she said, "I love you. You're so freaky real." I think she meant freaking, not freaky real.
I'll take freaky real.
Freaky real.
That's my next like clothing line.
There's your
next Jack
Kelly. Even though I can't design anything, but you guys can do it.
But you can rock it.
I can rock it. Freaky real.
I think that should be your next book title. Freaky real.
It's a good title, actually. Freaky real. Yeah, I actually like that. That's fucking great. Wow.
I really like your point of view on that, because we as like recovering addicts, we kind of elect ourselves to be like these big mouths about like all we do, right? Like, and I feel like, why? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I get like we want to be of service to others, and like people have to know that you're available to be of service to others, but that should be it. It's like, why do we have to have like a point of view on everything just because we're a recovering addict? You know what I mean? Like, I think we typecast ourselves as like we have to be loud and abrasive about our recovery, when it's just like, hey, it's like recovery is like an active change in ideals, perspectives, and like just behaviors, right? Like, or just, you know, or just regaining what was once lost. You know what I mean? And that's like, you know, self-fulfillment, 100%. Or like you're living with purpose and intent. And like, but we have to be like these voices, and like, you know what I mean? And like, I get like being a voice because people need to know you're available to be of service to them. But like you said, it's like we elect ourselves to have like an opinion on everything, like when we don't really have to. It's like, as long as we're at the table, we don't have to be at the forefront of everything.
Exactly. And I'm at a point where like I've done a lot of legitimate service. Like I've done a lot of good stuff, and then some of it was for whatever ego and stuff. But I'm at a point like it's just for my part of that world. Like, I mean, I will still speak if I have to, but it's not going to be like, it's never going to be focused anymore on like just getting off of something, because I find so much more of a lot of our collective pain is so much deeper than just drug use, and it's outside of even the recovery community. There's a lot of pain out there, and
right,
you know, it's for us it manifests because we're addicts and our brains zap onto that. But like, whatever, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that there's more I can be. Well, like, I have to learn more from it.
It's not an opiate or drug epidemic. It's a trauma epidemic.
There you go. Exactly.
You know, like it's a mental health epidemic. Like people just aren't okay, you know, sure. And it has nothing to do with drugs and alcohol. Drug addicts just found a solution.
Yeah.
We found something that works, you know, right. But people are going through it, whether they're in recovery, whether they're in active using, whether they're in a, you know, mental health facility, you know, people are going through it, and it's due to trauma.
So this, like, this is probably a good theme of what we're talking about. Why that I'm telling you, it's crazy by accident, because I was searching for the stupid link and trying to get it on my computer, and the Globe just came up because it's like I have a subscription. It was just like I had the table and it popped up, it refreshed, and that came up for whatever reason. So there were two things I thought. I'm pumped that the Globe covered her, that like gave her the proper due, because they would only cut, you know, if I died, they cover, you know, me, you know, he wrote a book, you know, but like the fact that like, not seriously, it's like the fact that they covered her, like she is someone who I know how I've felt about her, and I was in politics, so I could hide it well. I know that most people in the traditional recovery community probably couldn't stand her, because she openly advocated for drug use and did it in a very unapologetic way, did it in the way that she delivers the world, like didn't care, and also didn't have hatred towards anyone else, and like it was talented. And I just love the fact that coming into this conversation, like someone like that was honored, who doesn't fit whatever this recovery thing is that we say is good and bad, like who we decide gets to speak and spread a message. And right, I just hope that that's sort of being dismantled. Like, you know, I don't want to be some hero. It's so stupid, because I do, like, in recovery, I've done like horrible shit while people are praising me, and I'm like,
right,
that, like, what the fuck am I being praised for? I'm a normal person that does good stuff, bad stuff, you know. Yeah. So
I
Debbie
love it.
also said, our co-founder Debbie said, Jack, thank you for your honesty about your experience. So you're very honest. I love it. I think it's amazing. You know,
Have to be, because it's like I get the whole thing I ever really wanted out of recovery was to be able to find a group of people where I can share what I'm going through. Like, and when it got to a point where it was this competition, especially when it got all the activism started to happen and it became like political and so many different people got like were getting like stuff out of it, including myself, like I'm saying about myself. For me, it just became very not healthy. I stopped having any enjoyment. I'd have to go to these things and I'd be like, I am so annoyed that I got to do this. And like how is that healthy? It's not. And so I had to like, why am I even doing it? Am I doing it like ego or whatever? Or like this? So yeah, absolutely.
Julie just brought up a good thing too, that we wanted to mention, that you were one of the speakers at Waltham Overcoming Addictions.
I remember.
Vigil. That she said she was so moved by your message that you were what was Waltham Overcoming Addiction, that's now Greater Waltham Recovery Solutions. We now have a bigger team. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to have our fundraiser in September this year due to COVID.
Clearly.
Trying to figure, also, people out there, if anyone's watching, you have fun ideas or know anyone that would be interested in donating money to our cause or looking at different challenges we're going to do. Some of them I don't understand yet. Mike needs to explain some of them.
I don't even understand them, but we'll figure it out.
Mike, yeah, translate them to me because I don't have a clue. Yeah, so she said you were one of the speakers at their first.
Yeah, I remember it well. I remember, and Julie's hard. She's a hard person not to remember, and obviously, I don't need to, and I say that in a good way. And I don't need to tell everyone else the work that her and a lot of other people do on the front lines it says itself. So I don't even need to say anything about that. So the compliment is returned. So
yeah, so that was a big thing that she said, that their first, that was what, 5 years ago, I think they started Waltham Overcoming Addiction.
Yeah, 5 years ago. Yep.
5 years
makes sense.
Now building it up and including the other communities, and we have Mike, who's been unbelievable about getting people placed into not only treatment but intervention information. Mike helped a good friend of mine the other day, just having someone to talk to about the process of an intervention. Like, what do we need for an intervention?
I would love if Mike was the person that showed up half the time. My family was doing an intervention. It might have worked when I was like 18. He's
I know.
Like I remember when he first started doing that role, I was like, oh, he's perfect for that. He's cool, but he's calm. Like, I'm not calm.
He's cool.
I would have a bad day and I'd be like, listen, you like, if I don't give a fuck if you're not, so get the hell out of my office.
Right.
Like, I don't have the temperament to be on the front lines like that. I'd strangle someone. Like, I can't.
Right.
I just can't. So it's like, Mike, I echo that for sure.
And also, Debbie just reminded me too, the donations that we would get would go into scholarshiping people into sober living. Okay. And also, the veteran side of it, like helping to open up more options to scholarship people into treatment for the recovery coaches, and but the scholarshiping people into sober living is the main thing, because Waltham Overcoming Addiction got a bunch of people, I think it was 14 or something, Mike, that we've scholarshiped into sober living. And right now, where times are tough and no one's really talking about the opiate epidemic right now, but people are dying left and right.
Yeah, and I'd like to sort of tell my recovery compadres of like how that works. So being in politics, I can tell you, they're not going to talk about it anymore. It's so what you see is it's going to go from it will shift to every whatever the next thing is. It's so we got our
15 minutes.
Yeah, we're done. And so I try to tell people that it's over. Don't no one's going to become anything anymore over that part of it is gone. And people get mad at me when I say it. I'm telling you, it's over. It is over. Yeah, it's like the standing at the State House and the like that's gone. We're no longer. They got what they needed out of that. And you know what? You can't blame them. Yeah. They did, and it's like we can now. It's like we're at where we're at. So it's up to people within this world to get innovative and change with the times, or if insurance, whatever that's going to be. We're gonna have to be our own innovation, because it's not gonna be And I'll tell you what, as someone who's been in that world, if we have a church that they don't care about us, they're going to point to a million different budgetary items that shows they did 20% up. And most people who don't deal with this are going to say, I don't see what they're so mad about. They did get a lot.
Well, that's a false. Yeah, them us harping on they don't care about us. That's a false narrative because
they do care about us.
They do care about it. And government. I mean, government did. You know, I believe they did a sufficient amount. If we look at the changes that were made, even 10 years ago, yeah, they did it.
Look, sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead. I was done. I was just saying.
No, I mean, like,
did
it's
a good
easy.
job,
Listen, I love bashing people, and I'm not here to defend anyone or not defend anyone. There's a lot of things that I didn't like, but at the same time, when you look back at it, what more could be done? I mean, we know the drill, dude. Like, I mean, it's what more could they do? What do they want? What do we want? A whole 20 miles dedicated to us? So like we could right. That's not how the world works. Like, we're sharing the world with other people that have issues, whether right. it's racism or cancer or whatever else is an epidemic. And unfortunately, that's what we're going to deal with. My friend Stefan, he's in a wheelchair. Right. Would you think he'd rather be an active heroin addict or walk? Right. You know, I mean, like, seriously, right. like I'd take right. the worst. I'd take every horrible day I've ever had as a junkie. I mean, the worst, dope sick to the max, if I could still walk. I know Absolutely. That's true. So, like, yeah, my problems are hard, but as I've moved into other parts of the world, it makes me understand that, like, when I play the victim, I don't mean that anyone does that, but I've done it. It doesn't empower myself. Exactly. I don't feel empowered. It's one thing to speak up for injustice and be strong and courageous, like that girl, Aubrey, but to completely live in this, they don't do well. Sometimes people ain't gonna do shit for you.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
What, we just die?
Right.
Jump off a bridge? No, we get up and figure it out. You know.
I like Seriously, it. Yeah, I like it.
You know.
That's the truth.
Oh, so Julie said, what is now Black Lives Matter? So so we had our 15 minutes and now it's, the Black Lives Matter movement, which has been going strong now for, I don't want to say going strong, but it's been going on since, everything happened.
Yeah, I actually think so. I've, as someone who worked for a city department, I was able to have access to very boring data and budgets that nobody gives a shit about. Like, really don't. Like, it's just, and so I really understand budgets and how much goes to the police and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. One of the issues that I had been in there was shifting some of that stuff for mental health. So what I'm getting at is, ironically, what people in recovery probably don't get, and maybe they may never get it for their own different reasons, because people in recovery have their own humanities and have their own beliefs. So I don't know. But Black Lives Matter, especially the core issues they're trying to tackle, which is to get budgetary items switched from police to other departments. That's actually really good for the recovery community. And we couldn't have ever got that far with just our problems, because it was only specific to one particular thing, where this is a race of people, which makes it much more stronger. And so there could be a lot of systematic change that are actually indirectly going to help people in the recovery community.
Wow, this is great. We got an insider's perspective.
I know,
so true. Anybody who's in the recovery, I'll say this straight up. Like, if you're one of these people that goes to meetings and has ever complained about, the cop didn't care and made me kick heroin, and it's all bad, whatever. Why aren't you marching then? Because this is about police overstepping their bounds. So right. I would have to ask, if you're not supporting that effort, then why are you not? You can say it. I'll give you the reason. They're uncomfortable with the race part of it.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
Because who's been an addict that hasn't realized that police, and I love police, but who haven't been affected in a negative manner when we've been active by police? We are not treated the same.
Of course, treated almost animalistic. Yeah,
exactly. And how many times do we all complain about that? Oh, but then when it's another group, it's like, well, that's different. No, it ain't fucking different. You're either a part of the cause or not. So
yeah, I agree.
Anyway, so that's my soapbox.
No, I agree. I agree with those sentiments.
Mike, your mom said, "Thank you for sharing. You tell it like it is. Wish you all the best." So she said that to Jack.
Mike's mom, oh, that's awesome.
She's awesome. She's always.
Well, it took his mother to come on to finally say something public nice about him. So that's good.
Yeah, exactly.
Where's mine? I gotta get her on then. This is not fair.
My mom stopped watching like months ago, and I don't know. She's probably at the beach somewhere.
my mother is talk about being done with what my mother is so done with me is people like, oh, your son, and he's like, yeah, whatever, he can't even clean his house, so
yeah, I know the real him.
yeah, exactly, right, exactly.
Things are not always as they appear to be, right?
Right.
So, Mike, any questions?
Well, let's talk about the app. Can we talk about the app?
So the app, the app is no longer in service, but it did pretty well. No, it's okay. I mean, this is the startup world in general. It's not just if you want to create an app or anything in the tech world, it has a 99.9% failure rate. Now, what happened with the app is we got about 10,000 downloads. We made our money back, so to speak. The problem of what made it not work is from a financial incentive. It's just not really worth it for an investor. And so to maintain it, you either have to have grants pay for it, which now the purpose of what the app was going to do would be limited, or you just, it like sort of people just donate to it, but that doesn't work. And so what you'd have to do is smother it with ads, which would be everything I was against. And so it's not that it didn't work. It couldn't do what it needed to do, partially because of the restrictions of the way the startup world is. So.
And what was the app? I think I missed that.
iRecover app. It was an app that was sort of think technology of like Tinder. It could like match people up who were in recovery no matter where you were. So you could like hang out with them and talk to them and go to a meeting, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh, that sounds. I think.
So if you were traveling or anything like that, on business, yeah.
We had down. Go ahead.
Pink Cloud, I think is like that, right? Or no?
I don't know. I don't even download apps like that.
You don't know, right? You don't do social media.
No, I don't mean it to be like one of those people. I've just had my shit. I've done it all. You know, every pizza I've bitten, and it's like I know what I don't need to eat anymore. And it's just that's it,
every
you know?
pizza you bit.
I've done it all, and I know. It's like no.
I know my sister-in-law even just said that's so sad it didn't work.
No, I don't look at it like that, because it was like, so what? I mean, Michael Jordan is a famous quote, you know, like he missed his first, whatever, Mike might know this, but like, and Wayne Gretzky, and Wayne Gretzky has one, like, you know, my first 4,000 shots, I scored on my fifth, you know, it's, yeah, whatever. I mean, the thing, so
that's like my golf game right now.
Yeah. Like, but seriously, it's like, it's not that it didn't work. I didn't lose any money. I actually walked away with a little bit of money. I sold the data. Some people were helped. And I learned a lot. I now, like, in the business I'm doing now that I can't talk about, I'm completely aided by it. It was like going to school. So I don't need to go to business school now. I have a whole, like, I understand account management. I understand raising money. I understand like stock options, all that stuff that I had no clue before. And now I know it. So not a failure at all.
Everything's a learning experience, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. No regrets, just lessons learned, right?
Exactly.
See, Mike, you're hitting the one-liners today. No regrets, just lessons learned.
That's why he's a good interventionist.
I had an extra shot of espresso before we got on here.
Oh, do you have questions written down right now that you're going to ask?
He's very serious. I know. He's like doing like he's Walter Cronkite. He wants to.
Can I get a pen? So
This is no schlub of a guest we have tonight.
It's right? Like, you know, any scandals we want to like press me about, and you know.
I know, Mike. What are some scandals we can ask him about?
I have nothing on Jack about scandals. All positivity.
I admit it. So that's the problem.
All positivity.
I just say who's. Oh yeah, she's right.
Unless anything we need to know happened at that lap conference that we attended a couple years back.
No, that was a good time though.
That was a good time.
It was a good time. Well, and that was in Vegas, so right?
Yeah.
Everything.
Right. You guys went to Vegas together. You were both sober and went to Vegas together.
100%.
100%. Yeah.
Crazy.
It was awesome. What do you mean? It was great. You can do
stuff
like that.
I think it's amazing crazy.
Absolutely.
Not bad crazy. Like just two people here with long-term sobriety are able to go to Vegas together and stay sober.
Expense free too. Was a work related trip.
I gotta get on that bandwagon.
I told you it's over.
Oh, it's over.
It is. I'm serious. People don't understand. Like, I remember telling people, like, as that was going on, I'm like, you know, we're like right at the end of like welcome here, right? And they're like, what do you mean there's still people dying? I'm like, you do not get how this shit works. Everybody only is going to get the microphone here and there. Like, it's like the fact we got it was ridiculous. You don't keep it forever. You just don't.
Julie just said ask about your marathons.
Okay, so I've done 4, and I've done about 30 halves, and I've done 3 triathlons. But the marathon, my goals is to do the 6 major marathons, and I've done 4 of them. Boston, Chicago, New York, Berlin, and the next 2 are Tokyo and London, and who the hell knows? They obviously
were canceled. Sounds exhausting. That just sounds exhausting.
Other than Boston, what's your most rewarding?
Berlin, amazing.
Berlin. Yeah,
amazing. Yeah, Berlin was incredible, and I had a chance to find out where my grandfather was a prisoner of war in World War II in Germany, and I actually found where it was in the little statue. It's a little small statue, and it was 3 hours out of Berlin, and I got there right before I left. I was able to see it. So that was like the whole Berlin trip. I haven't even really been able to really appreciate it yet because so much things have been going on in my life, but I have a lot of pictures, and that was very special to me.
And what was the most difficult to complete?
The Boston one. The first one I ran, I didn't finish because of the bombings. I was in that one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I was one of the people. Oh yeah, no, I've been around 2 terrorist things, one in Israel and one here that whatever. I don't know. I just got lucky. Nothing bad happened, but so I was part of a group around it. Like, if you didn't finish because of the bomb, they invited you back. The next year I ran, but I just wasn't as in good shape, and I got real sick, and I had a thing called hydroapnea, which is an actual, essentially it's water overdose. It's the kind of opposite of dehydration. Yeah, you have a loss of electrolytes in the water, then it creates this domino effect where now the water is trying to replace the electrolytes, but certain cells, I don't know much of it, that'll actually kill you. It shuts down like your liver and stuff because you need the electrolytes, and my body was pushing them out. So it's a common thing runners get, but I got that probably halfway through, and I just powered through and finished it, and then went to the hospital on it. So that was my hardest one. But
holy shit! So was that due to like you preemptively hydrating? Like,
nah, there's a lot that goes in, like how that can happen. I mean, it's kind of like, it's just a typical athletic thing. It's like just that particular day, my body, for whatever, even though I was trained and whatever and it just wasn't ready for it, and it just decided, no, I'm not doing 26 miles, and then it became mind over matter. Then I had to finish it with my mind.
Wow, which is impressive. Yeah,
and I did.
Yeah,
you know?
That's amazing.
I mean, but that's for me. This is just me. Like, and probably got that with the addict thing is a good quality, is that I would rather die. Yeah, than have anybody know I didn't cross that finish line.
Right.
I just cannot accept that. Even right now, I'm telling this story, right? And it's like, if I had not have finished that, it would have fucking ate at me that I had to like tell you that. So no matter how hard it was, I'm still glad I did it, and I get the medal to prove it. So there we go.
But who would have thought, you said, you used to shoot heroin, crackhead would ever, run marathons,
exactly.
In Berlin, the Boston marathons, when it was the Boston bombings. That's, I know you're humble and you don't want to.
Nah, I'm not humble though. I'm not. I'm a fucking egomaniac. I think I'm great looking and all. There's nothing humble about me. It's just like, I know that it's like, it doesn't do me any good when I start believing that shit, because there's also like, it's just stupid. And it's like, but yeah, it is amazing, and that's why I put it out there. I would add though, it's not. I always try to tell people, like, what is some fantasy thing you wanted to do? And I don't mean like play for the Red Sox, but like something that's sort of like realistic fantasy. Like, and if someone says doctor and they're like, whatever, like a year sober and they're like a typical recovering heroin addict, and like my life is a mess, they look like shit still, or what that whole look, what I'm, where we all been. Like, and you never could even picture that they could be. And I always say, well, why can't you? You just, obviously it's not going to happen in the next few years, but you just put it together. If you just keep your eye on that, think of how many people go to school to be a whatever, a therapist, all the shit that most people do in recovery. Well, you can just go to medical school while they're doing that. It's the same fucking thing.
Right.
It's no different.
That's a huge message to people.
Right.
You can really do, whatever you want if you
correct. And that's what I want people to get from what I do with that stuff, is that if you want to be something big or not big, but whatever, like outside, if you don't want to be just limited to this recovery world and there's something other calling you have, who says you can't do it?
Right.
Like, and do it. And what's the worst that could happen? It doesn't work. So what? Gives a shit. Like, it's like, I mean, I always say people, it's crazy now, but it's like, okay, well then if it don't work and I was lying, then go start shooting heroin again. Isn't that something to look forward to? I just said you can shoot heroin again. So
yeah. If all else fails.
Yeah, if you want to be a doctor and it don't work out, I'm giving you I will pay for the first bet. How's that? Because like it's just
I was wrong, so go. You can go.
Well, right. Why say no? It's like because like it's I think as I know for me, I'm so like I love like arguing like, well, I can't do it because I'm a fucking my fucking record and my and it's like that's not accurate anymore. If you look at the laws that have been passed, it's much more progressive. I mean, I have I have on my arrest record hypodermic needles. That is legal now. I was arrested for that.
Right,
it's still on my record. I had a chance to get my record expunged when Deval Patrick was in office, and I didn't want to. I want it there. I'm not ashamed of it. It is what it is. I don't care.
I love that you just said that. You know that you're not ashamed of it. You know that it's
well. What is it? It is what it is. It's like what? Who gives a shit? All right, it's a junkie, and it's like none of it was even that cool. It's like embarrassing. It's like I'm from a neighborhood that they made movies about robbing banks. Okay.
Right.
I got a 3-page arrest record for like stealing fucking like DVDs. Okay. There's nothing cool about it. Like, it's like the most ridiculous. There's nothing. Why at one point and others like us think that bragging about the stat shit is somehow like the point is to actually get away with it.
Right.
And if you don't get away with it, you're an idiot. So I was an idiot.
You don't get extra points for going to jail.
No, it's like if you want to be a mobster or a gangster, the point is that you get away with it. You have that millions to have and you got away with it. Hello, it's not to get caught.
Like Tony Soprano, who we always talk about on here.
Right. That's where I got that line from. That's where I got that line from when Paulie Walnuts was arguing with Feach Lamanna.
And what
did he say?
He said you don't get any extra points for going to jail. The point is to get away with it.
Yeah. It's true. It's true. Yeah. Listen to I know some serious people that grew up around here, and some of them maybe who knows, right? But like even some of the most hardcore. I mean, I'm talking ones that wouldn't even be allowed here anymore. Like the ones that you've heard about. And I know them into they're doing life in prison, life, 23 hours locked down. This whole community, people made a ton of money off of this community. They could have done it legally. All this real estate, we could have got this, but no, we wanted to be gangs or whatever. Look, what did it get? A bunch of other people made a shitload of money off of this place that we could have made. That's just, there's nothing cool about that.
No.
And they're all in jail. So great, good job. Let's follow that. No, I'm all set with that.
Julie said, "See, he's a freak."
Oh, that's confirmed. I've never denied that. What else?
So we have a couple minutes. I gotta do it. We gotta talk about the TB12 experience.
Oh yes, TB12.
I'm so mad at him. I don't even want to talk about TB.
But
you can't be mad at him. He did the right thing.
Really upset with
he did the right thing. They didn't want him back. He did the right thing.
They didn't want him back.
I just feel like they didn't treat. I just feel like a knife in my back. You guys.
Why?
Don't fall. Not from Tom Brady.
Don't fall for that shit. He's the employee. Exactly. Mike's right.
What did you say, Mike?
I said you're not getting a knife in your back from Tom Brady. That's not from him. That's from Belichick and Kraft.
I know. But then Gronk coming back and playing with him.
It's they're playing. No. Hold on.
You sound like my boyfriend right now, who's like, "Oh,
I'll tell you. No, I'm gonna take it deeper than that, because if you're someone who we believe in this movement stuff. At the end of the day, Gronk and Brady are the players. We should be on. Now I know they're millionaires, but for what Gronk has done, he hasn't made that much money. 10 mil, what? He's probably made 60 million compared to the money he's made for Kraft. That's not that much, by the way. I mean, it is, but lifestyle wise, I mean, that's he could live down in Charlestown down the Navy Yard. That's all it is. It really is. People think it's it's not
down there.
Exactly, but it's not he's made a lot of money, but I'm 100% on his side. His body's got Nah, I got you, girl. I got you. I'm all player all the way. I have actually, I'll go, if I could find it. Oh, I can't find it. It's in the laundry right now. But I actually bought a Brady Tampa Bay Buccaneers jersey. So no shame in my game.
No shame.
Okay, so back to the TB12. Now
TB12. Okay, we got distracted. I had to get on my side.
By them. Talk about the TB12 experience.
Okay, so he linked something like, hey, come to the first grand opening or try it out, and it was supposed to be for friends. He put it on his story, and I hit it and just did the paperwork, and then I got my thing, and so I went one day just thinking I'm part of a grand opening like any gym, and they were still sort of like working, which didn't surprise me, but it was like I was like, yeah, I'm here for the 4 o'clock, and they're like, how'd you get the link? And I was like, Tom's thing, like, but they were like, oh, okay, like, and brought me downstairs, and I'm like, I could immediately tell, I'm like, Tom's, no, dude, not like that. But I just went downstairs, and halfway through, the kid realized, we laughed, and he was like, and I told him about the marathons coming up, Chicago and Berlin, and I immediately said, why don't we just do this, dude? Like, I'll start pumping it out on Instagram, right? You need like to get stuff going, and I'll attach it to those marathons I'm running, and then we'll just like, I come here and a couple times, you can have some ownership over it. They were like, yeah, we'll talk to Guerrero. They did. They agreed with it. And then, it happened. And then, he was liking it and retweeting it and all that stuff. But you want to hear something terrible because of COVID. Always. And I'm going to, of course, as an addict, and I'm Irish, I will end on a bad note. So I had then pitched, because I started going there, that we do some sort of like book thing, because they wanted to get away from him being the brand and localize it so they can grow bigger in different cities and blah, 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 blah. Because not everybody's going to like the Patriots quarterback. So I said, well, why don't we do like a book night? I'm an athlete, the whole sort of the mental health. And that's kind of, and they were like, this is a great idea. I was supposed to at some point meet with Guerrero, and it was sort of hinted Brady too. And it was set up 2 days before the quarantine thing happened. And then a week later, he signed with Tampa Bay, and he did his signing in New York instead of, and I was actually supposed to at one point have been in that. So there you go. So if anybody thinks they have bad luck, talk about that.
So you never met the GOAT?
No, I never met him. I've talked with him like on like that, and I've talked with people that are direct access to him, and we were getting close, but no dice, man. No dice.
But he retweeted you.
He did. And liked something.
If he wasn't a trader, you would have met him.
He's not a trader. He's not a trader. Listen, me and Mike are gonna. We are gonna be united on this. Like he's not a trader. And I'll tell you right now.
Think of how much joy that man's brought to your life.
I know. I wanted that joy to continue.
It is. Guess what? Now he's in Tampa Bay. We have an excuse to go down there. The joy has gotten better. What are you talking about?
He's just not right in a Bucks jersey.
I think it's amazing. If they do play, I think they're gonna win. I think they're gonna win the Super Bowl.
You guys,
no, I'm serious. They're stacked. People don't realize this. They were like 7-9 last year, and they had basically like me playing quarterback.
He had the most interceptions in the league.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
They had Mike. They got Mike Evans. They got another. Yeah. They got OJ Howard. They got Gronk. Now they got Gronk.
What about Antonio Brown?
He'll probably go there.
Yeah, he'll probably go there. Edelman will probably go there.
If Edelman goes, I'm done.
Hey, I gotta one last Tom Brady comment that you just absolutely gotta love. His, for whatever reason, like love of Antonio Brown, and the fact that he will not leave him, and like it is unbelievable.
It's so crazy.
It's the weirdest shit ever. He's like and he's like getting gangster with it. He's like, nah, he's a friend of mine. He's he just threw a kid out the window.
Antonio's getting arrested for domestics.
And he was like standing by him. He was pissed they released him. I was like, what the fuck? How did this happen? It's like fucking all of a sudden Brady's gonna have like a do-rag on his like an accepted honorary blood or something. For it's bizarre shit, man. So, all right, we good?
We're good, yeah.
Good to talk, everybody.
Again, I'll read the mission statement. Greater Wealth and Recovery Solutions. Mission is to raise funds and awareness to help connect people into treatment, access to recovery coaches in the community, support for veterans, and scholarship people into sober living. We're trying to find other fun ways to get donations. So if any businesses out there want to donate gift cards, right, Mike? What were you just going to say?
Donate. We're PayPal and Venmo
Yeah.
and Cash App ready. Maybe not PayPal, but Venmo and Cash App ready for donations.
But also,
By the way, Mike, great shirt.
Oh,
Great
yeah.
shirt.
I know.
And here's the thing. I'll tell you what, as from someone who does weird shit like this that wants to look like it's random, I know you picked that whole thing out and I love it. I love you for it. You are very happy about it. And no, I get it. I get it.
And you wear your
I'm
Uncle
feeling
Polly
it.
hat?
No, this is just some
Dirty
RV
dancing. Even
company.
better.
Yep.
All right, but that shirt, yeah, that's you, man. I'm
That's
on
me.
board.
Yep,
No one else
thank
can
you.
wear that. If I see anybody else in the
I know
world wearing that,
he can rock some of the weirdest shit sometimes.
hey, he's a good-looking dude. I mean, it's just sucking the benefits of it, you know.
That's it. That's it.
All right, guys.
Bye, guys.
I'll see you later, Mike. Good talking to you, buddy. And,
You too, Jack. Good to see you. Don't forget, leave the world a better place than you found it. Good
Yeah,
night.
That's right. See you guys. Bye.
Boom.
Bye.